So James, thank you for joining me for this coffee with the editor. I'm super excited about your Kiwi locos arriving. When are you expecting them?
So the first locomotives are due for shipment at the end of June, due to arrive in South Africa in July. The engine orders have been placed. They are in manufacture. That's the engine orders and the upgrade kits with Wabtec are in manufacture. The first upgrade kits are due for delivery towards the end of the fourth quarter of this year. That means that the first fully upgraded locomotives will be in service in South Africa in the first quarter of next year. And when you think about the context of that, the timeline to get a new locomotive manufactured in South Africa or even supplied to South Africa is currently about 3 years. This is diesel electric locomotives. In addition to that, these are locomotives that are probably the best known locomotive on the continent today, which is the General Electric Wabtec C30 locomotive. Our supply chain understands it exceptionally well. Our customers supply understand it exceptionally well. And of course, it's this wonderful high quality workhorse of Africa.
You're on a fast track here. From what I understand, you've ordered your engines, they're in manufacture, everything's happening. When are we going to see the first one?
First locomotives will be out of the workshop, fully upgraded, ready for service in South Africa. I would say early in the first quarter of next year, but February next year is when it's in the project plan. We're doing this Kiwi project in addition to the other projects that we are busy with in Rosslyn. We're going to be working on 6 locomotives simultaneously in Rosslyn, which enables us to release a locomotive every 2 weeks. These locomotives are coming to market faster than anything that I know that the rest of the world can deliver.
What is so significant about this additional rolling stock and tractive effort that you're bringing to market?
So the total investment across the program, to recap, Phillippa, is 46 locomotives at a 1.8 billion rand investment, which covers the cost of the core locomotive, which is the smallest portion of the expenditure, the upgrade kits for the locomotives with Wabtec, which is the bigger portion of the expenditure, the downstream servicing costs that we're spending into the South African supply chain, as well as our internal costs on spend at Rosslyn. And then we've got the 1.6 billion that we're planning to spend on the 920 wagons, which we of course also need to invest to complete the train set. In the industry, you have to start with the locomotives. And the position of the deployment of locomotives dictates the type of wagon that's required. We have, of course, a very good idea of where we're going to deploy the locomotives, and we've got great demand for the locomotives. So we have started the process now of engaging on the wagons. And what's really encouraging is the extent to which the South African wagon manufacturers are embracing innovation. Because you've got no idea how sensitive the business cases and the financial models are to layering on additional freight capacity in a wagon. So if you can take a wagon's payload from 60 tons to 63 tons or 65 tons, it unlocks huge additional returns, enables you to reduce rates, and that process of innovation is something that I'm really excited about. And I think we need to look at the way that we encourage innovation through safety regulation and through the adoption of new types of rolling stock into the system. That process of engagement is well underway with the South African wagon manufacturers, and it's really encouraging.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that you said South African, because we have a few really good local manufacturers for wagons here in country.
South African wagon manufacturers, we've benchmarked pricing around the world, are cost effective. Of course, we've got the benefit of them being here and not having to ship a wagon across the world, but are cost competitive, which is really just fundamentally important. And says to me that a significant time of growth, I think, is coming into wagon manufacturing in South Africa. And that's something that I think that those wagon manufacturers hopefully can look forward to. We've had the announcement of the 11 TOCs that received the conditional awards for service in South Africa, to take up slots in South Africa. Brilliant thing, excellent. To my knowledge, there hasn't been an announcement of an investment into extra locomotive or wagon capacity to actually service those slots yet. And we know that the supply chain to deliver locomotives and wagons to the market is exceptionally slow in the railway industry. 24 months best case scenario. I believe diesel electric locomotives are now at a 36-month delivery timeline. What's the relevance of this? Well, it's the first big announcement that the private sector has made of an investment into extra rail capacity for South Africa. The biggest private investment into freight capacity in the history of South Africa. I'm hoping that it's a catalyst that will lead to the announcement of more programs, more investments into trains by other parties that also bring trains into South Africa. But the relevance of this is it actually capacitates the private sector to provide trains under the rail reform agenda in South Africa into the future. That can be us operating under our own slots, it can be us capacitating freight owners, or it can be us capacitating TOCs. But this is a significant investment into 46 locomotives, 920 wagons, that actually is going to enable the private sector to operate trains. It's lovely having rail reform. It's great. But without investment, it means nothing.
I think we also need to appreciate that Traxtion itself, throughout its history and where it is today, takes pride in its supply chain, of which quite a bit is local.
Across last year, approximately 67% of our total procurement was with our South African supplier base. The South African supplier base is one that we have invested a huge amount of time and effort into in developing these relationships of trust, which enable us to grow our local procurement. When we are spending the 207 million rand that we've budgeted on the servicing of these locomotives into our local supply chain, we've got a huge amount of trust in their ability to deliver high quality services on those critical component parts that are going to go back into these locomotives, because every single locomotive is going into a major service program, in addition to the upgrade prior to the release. We've also got this extremely high degree of understanding of the nature of this asset. The C30 locomotive, the General Electric C30 locomotive, which is being upgraded in this program from a C26 to a C30 with a brand new latest generation Wabtec 7FDL EFI engine, which the engine itself brings significant fuel saving and emission savings benefits. And then, of course, you lead into the huge emissions fuel savings from the conversion of road transport to rail transport.
We also need to look at the additional benefits that come out of this, having that rolling stock available, capacitating the TOCs, being able to move commodities yourselves. But I think it also comes down to not just the emissions, but the unlocking the value chain that goes around that, creating further opportunities in the economies for South Africa.
I think that's what I'm most passionate about, and I think that's what really drives Traxtion as a business, and what gets our people motivated every single day. It's not us. It's not the benefit of us. It's not us as a growing business. It's about what us as a growing business means for the upstream economy. We've provided these services across the continent, and we've done it now for 38 years. We're in 10 countries at the moment. We've operated 0 kilometers in South Africa. Okay, but we're a South African company. What I'm most excited about is what this means for the future of South Africa, where we have the huge socioeconomic challenges that we understand in South Africa. And what does an economy stand on? Economy stands on its network industries, of which rail is an absolutely critical network industry. If we want to unlock that critical ingredient of economic growth, which solves our massive socioeconomic challenges in the country of unemployment, the most important thing is cost-effective logistics. And cost-effective rail logistics is what we do. And it's that multiplier effect of every time that we add extra train capacity to a country, and for the first time now, we're going to be unlocking significant extra train capacity for South Africa, our home. It unlocks that benefit to the upstream economy. And when we're looking at South Africa and we're looking at the PSPs and the implementation of rail reform and the implementation of regulation, for me, the prism that we should look at it through is always and primarily and first cost-effective logistics, because it's the most important ingredient that's going to unlock economic growth and our upstream economy. And the ability for us to deliver that is really meaningful.
The additional part of what I believe Traxtion is passionate about is on the skills development side. Last week you wrote an opinion piece, we published it. It's a big part of what makes you a truly South African company.
2024, we spent 47,000 Rand per person on average across our 470 employees on training. That's like a tertiary degree per person, okay? That continual investment into the upliftment of the skills of our people and the growth of our skills base is like the infrastructure that the business stands on. This program is unlocking 662 additional jobs in Traxtion. And those are not jobs that exist only for the huge upgrade program that's happening in Rosslyn. Those are jobs that will be sustained for as long as Traxtion's in service and as long as these locomotives are in service. Permanent jobs, highly skilled individuals. Absolutely outstanding. We're ignoring the multipliers upstream and to some extent the multipliers downstream in wagon manufacture and the services that come into South Africa as a consequence of the upgrade programs.
Ghana recently released their master plan for the rail sector. Uganda has just announced that they're looking at developing a rail policy as well as a master plan. I think South Africa, having gone through the process that we have over the last couple of years, what is some advice that you could give to our neighbouring countries as they embark on this process?
The process that the Department of Transport put in place with the release of the rail policy in March 2022, they ensured we had the platform for fair and equitable, competitive rail freight services in the country. And how did they achieve that? The first is with the implementation of effective rail economic regulation. First through the IREC, but very importantly now coming with the implementation of the statutory transport economic regulator. Absolutely fundamental point. The second is that it created an equal playing field with the vertical separation between TFROC and TRIM. So that you have the state operator, which will, because of the size of the fleet, always, or for the foreseeable future, be the dominant operator. But that dominant operator has to compete on equal terms with the new TOCs that come and provide the competitive environment. The third was the creation of a clear pathway as to what we're trying to achieve in the country. And we did that, of course, with the policy itself, with the freight logistics roadmap, and with the PSP framework, which signaled to the market, we understand we've got a challenge with the condition of infrastructure. We understand we've got a challenge with the number of train sets we've got in operation. These are the solutions that we're going to be targeting as a country. And every policy piece that has come out has built on that platform and been aligned with that platform. We haven't had, this is the policy and then we go off in a side direction. That policy has created confidence. That confidence resulted in us investing. I think those are the building blocks that ultimately create and unlock that critical ingredient of confidence, because it really is that confidence that results in investment, that investments that makes reform meaningful.